Take it away.
Hi, everybody. We are talking today about, or this is the last Sunday where we are talking about that idea of connecting to a world for everyone, or as our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living's motto is, a world that works for everyone. And that's our intention. But for me, when I think about that, a world that works for everyone, it's so big and it's such an overwhelming concept. You know, how can I be responsible for a world that works for everyone, or contribute to it, or somehow be part of that? It's so massive. And also, there's a part of me that says, I don't know what's best for everyone. So how can I quantify a world that works for everyone? And, you know, I can get in my head about these things. So this is how I'm able to take this huge idea and I can personalize it so that I can grasp it better. So imagine getting on a subway. Let's say subway starting up in the Bronx, and staying on the subway as it goes down through Harlem, and then the Upper West Side, and then kind of Midtown, and it starts to go over, and then you get into East Village, and then it kind of dips down further into the financial district area, and then it swings over and it goes over to Brooklyn and all through the various parts of Brooklyn. And if you stayed on from there to there, imagine the variety of people that would be on that subway train. I mean, I imagine probably most of you have ridden in a New York subway, so you know what I'm talking about. You can be sitting next to somebody who has a different religion than you, or an atheist, or different color, different age, different everything. You know, I mean, it's amazing how diverse the New York subway trains are. And you know, you could be sitting there minding your own business, and all of a sudden somebody comes in with a boombox and does a little performance, and then the next thing you know, the door opens and in comes this whole group of tourists that are speaking Japanese, and that's fascinating. And then over here comes a whole group of Norwegians, and then you have people in different religious garb, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. And yes, I know that there's trouble sometimes on the subways, but I'm generalizing. And I imagine this subway card, right? So for me, a world that works for everyone is akin to all of us being in like a subway car of life, coexisting peacefully, as we mostly do on the subways, and we're all moving forward. We're loving and appreciating each other as each of us is right there, all moving together. So that's how I kind of think about it. And you know, it helps me to quantify. I mean, not that I picture everybody in the world on the subway train, but just the variety and the diversity, and that we all are standing there or sitting there, moving in the same direction. Of course, another aspect of a world that works for everyone, though, includes a world that works for me and for you, because we're part of the world. Is your world working? I mean, what parts of your world aren't working? I think sometimes when we think about that kind of question, we Westernize it. We get into that Western mind frame that a world that works for me must mean I have to have money in the bank, and that I have to have a good job or a nice home or whatever. We materialize the experience, which is okay, by the way, and it's fine to work toward. But we're here together on the spiritual path, and we're here to go deeper than those things, or including those things, but to also go deeper. And at the soul level, when we go down to that level of the soul, a world that works for us, for me, is very different than that, than the accoutrement of life. Our soul never once will ask what your bank balance is. Your soul will never give you tips to get a promotion. The soul doesn't give tips on anything worldly, because it's at the soul level, which is so beautiful and deep and underneath all of everything else. At the soul level, we're given love and gentle guidance. And I like to think of it as evolving into our continued awareness of who we are, a continual process to heal ourselves, forgive ourselves and others, which we'll talk more about next month, to align ourselves more with our authenticity so that we are living our truth. And this is a big and, to open ourselves up to more and more joy. Boy, that's a big one for us, because I believe, like that book that we studied a few years ago, The Big Leap, that we often have ceilings on how much joy we allow ourselves to experience. At the soul level, the soul shows us that every experience is an opportunity to grow, to heal, to love, and to be present. There's so many tools we have to do this. We teach many of them here at the center. And it's a beautiful journey to discover how more and more we can let go of what no longer serves us, internally and externally, and live more simply. Now, staying present is tough to do for those of us who have tried to do it. And it's great to practice, but it's also a great tool to create that world that works for you, because you are in the present moment. So here's a great story to illustrate that. This was years ago, and I've told this story before, but it's a great story for this occasion. One day I was in the car listening to the radio. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a big car singer. Does anybody else here sing in the car? And, truthfully, I usually don't care who sees me sing. Although sometimes, like if you're at a stoplight and there are cars really close, sometimes, you got to disguise it a little bit. Like, it's like you singing and then you look and it's like, oh, total eclipse of the heart, turn around, bright eyes. And then the light goes green and then you can just kind of get into it again. But I digress. I do love to sing in the car, and I was blessed by the Creator to have a great memory to remember the lyrics of songs from the 70s and the 80s. I don't have a memory necessarily to remember what I did yesterday, but if it's a song from the 70s or 80s, chances are I'm going to remember all, or at least most, of the lyrics of the song. I was not blessed, however, by the Creator with a voice to sing them. Hence, my car is my best venue, and I am my own best audience. So anyway, I'm in the car, a song came on the radio, and the first few notes played. I mean, this all happened very quickly. The first few notes played, and my first thought is, oh, I love this song. And then just a couple seconds later, the singer started singing, and that's when I remembered the name of the song and who sang it. And then there was another part of my brain that said, actually, I hate this song. And that's when I remembered I didn't like the song. I loved the song until I remembered that I didn't love the song. By the way, I'll tell you the name of the song after the talk, after we stop recording, because, no use getting into a big debate online about this song. Anyway, it was such a great moment of awareness. And it has stuck with me all these years, just that little moment of awareness. That experience showed me how judgment is so quick. I was loving the song in the present moment until a judgment came up from the past, and then it changed it for me. Shakespeare, one or two of you may have heard of him, said, and I paraphrase, that the difference between a flower and a weed is an opinion or judgment. So on top of this was a judgment that I had made when that song came out probably 40 years ago, which is amazing because I'm 39. So I made that judgment all those many years ago. And when that song came back up on the radio, it was so automatic, my opinion of it, that I almost missed it. I almost missed it. And this is just about one little song. What about the judgments we have that formed along the way from our childhood or during challenges? And they come up and we don't even notice them. We don't even notice them. We collect those judgments and we store them and often don't even notice we have them. It's like that TV show, Hoarders, which, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. I have watched every episode multiple times. I'm just fascinated by it. And I'm fascinated by the people in it and the process. And I'm fascinated by the people who come in to help. It's really, there are so many great spiritual lessons when you watch that show. It's amazing. But anyway, in that show, Hoarders, as those of you who have seen it know, they focus on people who collect stuff and collect more and more and surround themselves with it, with all this stuff until it begins to suffocate them. And then when people come to help them, those people, the hoarders in the show, will argue to keep every scrap, every broken item, every single thing, and they can remember where they got each item and what that item means to them. Now, I'm using this as an analogy for these judgments or these thoughts that we have in our mind. It's that way. We have so many that we're hoarding them. And our spiritual work is to release our judgment on things and experiences and people so that we can say, no way, I don't want to have that same judgment. I'm in the present moment. I don't have to attach the past meaning onto this experience. I remember exactly how I developed that judgment. We can tell a story about every judgment we have. It's like what Richard Bach wrote in that book, Illusions. We'll argue our limitations so much that they become who we are. By the way, I'm not saying all of our judgments are good or bad. It is a good judgment and a good thing to remember and have as automatic that we don't touch hot stoves or that we have rules of the road that happen and occur to us just almost automatically, etc. There are good ones. I'm talking about all the ones around the good ones that clutter up our life experience. So I'm not saying to forget the memory attached to that thought or that judgment. I'm saying we can heal it so that when that song comes back up or the experience comes back up or where that person comes up in our mind or in our being, in our presence, we can simply say, oh, there you are from the past. And then we can be authentic in the present moment about how we feel and how we can let go. And then if you still don't like the song, metaphorically speaking here, turn the station. So let me just tell you quickly, earlier this year, I had an opportunity to practice this. I mean, we all have opportunities all the time, but this is one that stands out in my mind. I was at work and I received this email interaction with an important client. Doesn't matter what the email said, because this is about my experience, not about them. But anyway, I got this email and at first, it was fine. Just like the song on the radio, the first few minutes, it was fine. I was okay with this email interaction. And then, like that song, another part of my brain began to read into it. Suddenly, I was really reading into this email interaction. And then I started making assumptions about it. And I started taking it very personally. And, I think I broke all of the 4 agreements on this one experience here. But somehow this email exchange had really touched upon something inside me. Like I said, it doesn't matter what it was, but it just really opened something in me. And I was beginning to experience an outsized level of anxiety just from this one email exchange. I mean, I spent the whole rest of the day thinking about it. Have you ever had that where you get something like an email or a voicemail or have an interaction or something, and you can't get out of your mind and you think, I was thinking, what I should have said differently, what I would have done differently, what would have been better to say, what do they mean by this, and all of this stuff. I was just having this, okay? Even that night, I had a miserable night's sleep and into the next day. I'm not usually like this, by the way. I have done as many of you have, I've done so much healing work and trauma work and shadow work that I usually don't feel that kind of anxiety anymore. So when it was there, I paid attention. I did journal work, I did prayer work, I did everything I could think of. Still was feeling it. And I was just wondering, why am I feeling this? And then I went in and I did a soul letter. For most of you probably know, soul letters are when you write a letter to that person or that experience, not that you're ever going to show it to them. You write it and express your feelings. You take a few deep breaths to go deeper to the level of the soul, and you let your pen or pencil answer you from that level. And I always find that the most important question we can ask when anything happens, when a person, an experience, a thing, a feeling, whatever comes up that somehow is causing an experience within you, I always think the most important thing you can say is, why are you here? Why is this experience happening? So I did that. I wrote a soul letter to this experience, to the email that was causing all of this anxiety. And my soul wrote back, like I said at the beginning, souls don't write back and say, well, this person's a jerk and, you really should write back this. So it's the soul goes so much deeper and it's so much more poetic. The soul wrote back, again, paraphrasing, it said that I was somehow sensing that a sea change within me was happening deep in my life, and that this experience somehow touched on that sea change. My soul said that it was an opportunity to release an old coping mechanism that no longer serves me, and that there are better responses I can choose that don't cause anxiety or bring it into my body. I can change the station for a better song. And by healing it, I was left with the gift of awareness that, oh, right, I now feel that there is a sea change happening deep within me. Now, if you don't know the phrase sea change, it originated from a Shakespeare's play, The Tempest. By the way, that's 2 Shakespeare references in one talk. Top that, Deepak Chopra. And sea change has come to mean, I wrote it down, I have it on my phone here. It says, it's a striking change, often for the better, a major transformation. And then another site, when I looked it up, said that a sea change often denotes a substantial change in perspective, similar to a paradigm shift. That's what was happening. And so when my soul used that term, something in me suddenly became aware of the signs that were pointing to major life changes. These are inner changes, and reminded me to stay present so I can welcome it, find the lessons and find the joys in it, and open myself to expand in it. What could have happened was that I felt the anxiety, worried, carried that in my body, and then tried to solve things as best I could, and then forget it as soon as the whole feeling left. What I did instead was catch myself, like the song on the radio, and ask, why is this happening? What are the opportunities for healing and growth here? And as a result, that experience brought me a tremendous amount of deep joy, deep awareness about how life is evolving me. And by the way, if I'm experiencing a sea change, this deep transformation, then chances are you might be as well. This might be the sign that you are as well, since we are walking this journey together. Watch closely for some of your coping mechanisms and bring them into your awareness, into the present moment, and see why they're there and how you can also choose better. In this way, being present, choosing higher, living authentically, we create a world that works for ourselves. And that, in turn, why do I do that with my finger all the time? And that, in turn, inspires others to do the same thing. And in that way, we bring awareness and healing to the world. So a world that works for everyone, the big subway car of life where we coexist peacefully as we all move forward. as I move forward in the ways that grow and expand me, and you do the same. And this means my world and your world that works for you. That's your responsibility. And we can do that by paying close attention to our thoughts and reactions and judgments. If something no longer serves, then bless it and let it go. You can shine brighter the less stuff that we carry that covers our light. So we can be the light. We can dance through life, even as sea changes occur, maybe especially as sea changes occur in our lives. And finally, sing in the car loud and proud every song you love to sing. And if that one song comes on, change the channel. So let's bring this into spiritual mind treatment. Right now, we just actually go to that level of the soul. Taking 1 or 2 deep breaths brings us to that deeper area where we have, it sounds like a oxymoron, but the deeper we go, the higher we go. We go to that place where our wisdom with a capital W is present at all times, in all places, everywhere we are. It's this easy to connect and to realize that we were created from that one presence, that deep wisdom. And it is in that deepness where we connect with all things, all people, all places, all time. And so in this place, we can become aware of where we might be, like the song, we might be attaching automatic judgments. We might be somehow on automatic pilot for things that we need to take a look at, for things that we need to bring into the present so that we might make a deeper, a better, a more loving choice. In this awareness, we are in the present moment where all things are possible, not in the past, not in the future, but now, here and now. So we do that now. We breathe and we release the past. We let go of what no longer serves us so that we might sing our song beautifully, proudly, loudly, confidently. And we might expand our world so that the world works even better for each one of us, and in turn, for the world itself. We're on that great subway car, and we know the truth. We know peace and love and expansion for every person on the subway car of life with us. We use the most positive tools we have to create the most positive experience possible. And with this is our truth, we release it into love and law, and we know it to be true for each one of us right here, right now. And together we say, and so it is.